Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Namaste Village. I'm here for one more day in Nashville, and tomorrow I'll be back in Mexico. So I'm looking forward to seeing all of you, whether you're there or here on Zoom. We'll be back with the family, and I'm very excited to get back home. But let's talk a little bit about what we just heard. There's nothing left for me now. The song that we just heard, for those of you who are here live. We're going to talk about that today. But I want to begin with an example that I experienced just yesterday. That one of those little things that happen, but you suddenly realize, wait, this has got some meat to it. This is something that I can share and just turn around in such a way that we can see who we are, why we're here, and what the real lesson is. So I'm here at my brother's house and his family here in Nashville. And for many of you, you know that I've been working with virtual reality glasses, mainly in context of the I Am Awake retreat. We have a lot of people coming to Namaste to do private retreats with me with those glasses and that whole process. But there are lots of other things that you can do, games, amazing experiences that you can have where you put these glasses on and you are in a different world. I mean, it is amazing. The technology for these glasses is just truly incredible. For example, one of the games that we've been playing a lot, my brother and my nieces just love, is this Darth Vader game where you put on the glasses, suddenly you are in Star Wars land, and you've got Darth Vader right in front of you, teaching you how to use a lightsaber or all sorts of adventures, and it's completely engrossing. You really forget, truly, the world around you. And if it wasn't for listening to a voice every once in a while say things to me like, don't step forward too much more, you're going to hit the wall, or don't turn around, you're going to step on the dog. If I didn't hear a voice like that telling me what to do, what not to do, guiding me in that way, I probably would have walked right into the wall. And this reminded me of that still quiet voice of the Holy Spirit that's always entering into the dream, always giving us that quiet information that's going to help us to realize that this world that we think we're seeing, the world that we're watching through those glasses, is not the real world, is not the world that where we truly are, the reality of our light, our love, our true home really exists. The other interesting thing that happened that reminded me of this awakening is when someone would come up and either accidentally or on purpose, while I was wearing the glasses, while I was in this other world, forgetting about the world that was really going on around me, completely caught up in this virtual world. If someone would come up and actually touch me, it was shocking. It would shock you for a moment and frighten you, because it was a world that in that moment you literally didn't know was there. You become so engrossed in this battle with Darth Vader or whatever it may be, because it's so real. You look around in every direction, and that's the world you see, that's the world you feel. And suddenly someone touches you from the other world to remind you, don't step forward too much more. Don't step on the dog, whatever it may be. At first, it's shocking because it jolts you into a state of awakeness. And once again, I was thinking about this and I realized that this awakening that we are all going through, entering into the experience of I am awake, can be very similar to that. At first, when that touch occurs, when we are reminded of the real world, there is a shock, even a fear that can come up to us until we just relax and realize this is just the call home. Maybe some of you, even in these morning sessions, feel that you're being shocked with reality, with the truth. Some of the lessons that you hear, some of the examples that are given are such that you can either just ignore and say, well, that's ridiculous, and just stay asleep. But if you do take them in and you look at them for real and allow them to penetrate the armor that you've built around yourself to block you from the awareness of love, well, then it can at first be a little scary until you relax into it and realize, no, this is just that still quiet voice, that gentle touch reminding me there is another world. There is another experience that I can have right now if I choose. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today. And I've brought up, actually, this is something that I wrote maybe a few weeks ago and shared at that time, but I was looking over some of them and this felt very appropriate to this example that I'm giving. So let me go ahead and bring it up on the screen so you can see it. And we'll talk about this. Oh, hold on. There we go. Okay. Let's start off with this statement. It's normal to want to be useful in the world. Of course it is. It would be normal to be in this world and want to be useful, to have a function, to do something that is going to benefit others. That's very normal. I think we can all see that. But what would happen if you had no more use for yourself? No more use for your separate split identity, for your egoic assertion that you are separate, that you're alone and isolated and vulnerable? What if you had no more use for that self? What if the need to do was replaced by the desire to be? This is what we talked about yesterday, being within the beingness of God. What if the need to do was replaced by the desire to be? Well, here's what would happen. Time would end, and with it, the world you think you see. But it would not end in darkness, but in a light brighter than anything that you've ever seen before. The world would not end in darkness, but in a light that is brighter than anything you've ever seen before. This light is invisible to the physical eyes that were made not to see, but it's perfectly clear to the eyes that could always see. Once again, the light we're talking about cannot be seen with the physical eyes because it's not a physical light. But you have another set of eyes that see the truth, that see reality, that perceive only love. And this light is perfectly clear to those eyes, and they could always see if only you would open them. That's all we say here day in, day out is open up your eyes and see. Why go through life with your eyes closed or blinded to what is right in front of you, the heaven that's right in front of you? Open your eyes and see. Okay, so let's listen to that again. The eyes that could always see. You may have denied yourself of this sight, but it did not deny itself of you. And that's all you need to know. That's a big statement. You may have denied yourself of the sight of this light, of this love, of this holiness, but it never denied itself of you. That light has always shone on you. That love has always embraced you. Now, we can deny ourselves of that. We can ignore that, or once again, wear these virtual glasses that seem to show us a world that appears very real. And the thing is, there was no time in which I was really battling Darth Vader. It was all an illusion in my mind based upon the glasses that I was wearing in the program I was playing, but there was no time in which I was really doing it. If I wanted to experience what was really happening, I had to take the glasses off. And that's all we're being challenged to do, is to take off the virtual glasses that show us a virtual world and a virtual self and see what has always been so clear. Once again, that's all you need to know, that you may have denied yourself of this sight, but it did not deny itself of you. It cannot deny itself of you. So when you wake up in the morning, do you mourn the world you lost? Of course not. You wake up in your bed and see the dream for what it was, a dream. You suddenly grasp the real world that was unknown to you while you slept. You suddenly grasp the real world, the world that was unknown to you while you slept. Now you are awake, and the world of passing illusions is replaced by a world of grace. This is something to rejoice about, not to mourn. We don't mourn a world that was never real, a virtual reality that passes away. We don't take off those glasses and mourn the fact that we weren't really battling Darth Vader. We take the glasses off and return to the true world where we are blessed, where we are holy, where we can give to one another and heal one another. And we do so joyfully. So as the question was asked in the very beginning, what would happen if you lost the use for yourself? You no longer had a use for the split identity that you've claimed until now, and accepted instead the love and the loveliness that has always been yours, the self, the truth that is always seen and loved by God. What would happen if you gave that all of your attention? Well, that's what we talk about here every day. I'm sure you feel the heat of that discussion, otherwise you wouldn't be back every day. There is a literal heat when you discuss this, when you consider the possibility that this is true. It's like getting close to a fire. You can feel that heat. You know that it's there. And the same with this truth. You know that it's there because the closer you get to it, the hotter it becomes, the brighter it becomes within you. So give yourself to that fire. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Vicki and let Vicki turn it practical from here. I give you the context and then Vicki makes it practical. So good morning, Victoria.
Morning, Brother James. Good night. It's so nice to see you. Your brother's home. That's nice. And well, I think that any of us have that experience right now, or many of us do. It's like what happens is you live in a surprise because you're waiting always for the prompt, for the direction to show itself, or the natural knowing that comes from within instead of without. The difference is simply we don't take our cues from externals, we take them from an internal presence of knowing. So whatever, give yourself to love. Love will tell you what to do. And it's really that simple. It doesn't have to be complicated. The voice for love is alive and awake in all of us, or we would never found ourselves to a room like this. So just listen to that. That's it. Only listen to that. It's just, we've been addicted to thinking that thinking has some value when it's receiving that has all the value. Instead of thinking and figuring it out, receive it. If we open to receive the natural state of love that we are, it is the voice of grace, and it is the voice of our higher self. It's the voice of love, and it comes with knowing. So it's every day right now if we want it to be, but if we want it to be. We've been so habituated, and we're kind of addicted to the news, or to talking about sickness, or talking about something else, or watching horror movies or anything else that supports the idea of separation and being in a separate little world and having to work and struggle and then achieve and all this. The idea that no, we can really rest and let it be a surprise. Life can be a surprise party of grace. That's learning to live under the one law of love instead of all the laws we made up. And you don't need to have big mystical experiences or walk on the water or any of that. All of us can do this, no matter what tradition, non-traditional or traditional we come from, if we really want to listen to our hearts, the voice of our spirit, the voice of Christ within us. by simply turning all our attention to it. That's what one desire is. The single desire of the Son for the Father is just turning our attention to the love in our hearts and waiting for the prompt rather than running out and trying to do something to satisfy some impulse. It's really living by grace from within and not external prompts. And it's not to say the external prompts won't also hold a direction for us. They do. But we recognize them from within. We recognize them. A butterfly crosses our path, or a bird comes near us and starts singing, and we recognize the voice of spirit in it. But it isn't the external that gives us the understanding, it's the internal. That's why Jesus said to Peter, "Upon this rock I'll build my church." He was saying, "You know who I am from within. You didn't learn it because I'm telling it to you." And that's the place of love within ourselves that recognizes our divinity and each other's divinity as one field of consciousness that we truly live in. So for me, I just put all my attention on listening to my heart, and that is the voice of the Holy Spirit. And I wait and I follow it. And I don't have any more usefulness in the world. I haven't got a clue, especially since we moved here, except to sit out and bless the world and save it by recognizing what is and what isn't so. Those are the only directions, the general directions given this day, and I've seen many days. But that, I would say, that's when our real helpfulness comes in, because we're not doing all the creative things we think of as creative. We're listening to the true creativity of the Christ within us. And we are going about our Father's business, maybe just by how we see each other, maybe how we enjoy the day, maybe how we enjoy a flower. But it's putting all our attention on that inner state, that inner presence. It may require lots of silence for some people. It may require no periods of silence for others. No one would know. But putting our attention here is a turning, literally, it's a refocus and staying focused there. And then whatever we're brought to do, it inevitably is full of happiness because it comes from the source of happiness, comes from love. What could be better? And how simple is that? But it is about us doing it. And that's why Jesus teaches mindfulness in the Course. It's not about letting your mind wander into all of these storylines. It's about simply, you don't even have to say they're not so. Just let them pass, let them go, and turn all our attention to the heart. And just be attuned, listening. Could be listening while you're walking or reading or doing the dishes, but being attuned to within. And with gratitude. Gratitude is the quickest way to open our inner ears. Gratitude. So that's what I would say. It's very practical. Do it today. Don't waste any time because it's fun.
It is fun and it is practical. And you are both such great examples of the shift from doing to being. No one did or does like Vicky did or does. I mean, all you need to do is to look at that party you just had a few days ago. That's the kind of thing you did all the time. And you could whip up a storm and whip up a party like nobody, or run a restaurant or whatever it was with such grace. But boy, there was a lot of activity. And now here you are, just being present, sitting on the porch, blessing. The radiance of that is as strong as ever.
Thanks, Jeremy.
Thank you, Vicky. Teddy, where do you want to go from there?
Well, I was thinking when Vicky was talking, the example that we have in the Bible is Saul to Paul. Saul was a persecutor of Christ, and then he saw who Jesus was, and he became Paul. And Paul had an entirely different function. He was a follower, a disciple, and a teacher of what Christ was. And I think that's the experience that we have. For me, one of the benefits of A Course in Miracles is when I had the light experience and the experience of Jesus, I didn't know what to do with myself. And so when I got the Course, I began to understand and be able to act based on, Vicky was saying, ideas given to me by the Holy Spirit rather than trying to do what I needed to do to survive in space and time. And I think that's one of the things that occurs. And in a sense, because of the nature of fear and the human consciousness, there's this idea that we have been afraid of God for whatever the reason is. In the Course, is because we denied him or whatever. But everybody has this fear of God. And I think when we begin to live as Paul rather than Saul, we begin to lose that fear in order for us to return to the kingdom, not through death, but through rebirth. And that's seemingly what this is all about. We have this experience, we don't know what to do. We come to places like Namaste where we're together with other people and we hang out for a reason that's not in the world, but we're still of the world for a moment until we undergo the totality of the healing we need. And the totality of the healing that we need is always the release from fear. That's it, no matter what it seems to look like. So that's what seems to occur. We all have this moment, a Saul to Paul experience, and then we live under a different reference point. We live under the auspices of the Holy Spirit or the Christ mind, whatever we want to call it. And from there, we begin to do things that allow or understand things that lead us to whatever we need to do here in order to undergo the totality of forgiveness of ourselves until we're no longer afraid of God and the kingdom, and then we return. So that's sort of what it's all about.
Thank you. And I'm so glad that you brought up the story of Saul's transformation into Paul, because that is a good example of the light experience that shakes us and wakes us up. Saul was knocked off his horse by this bright light, and it was so bright that it blinded him. He could no longer see through those eyes of separation. He was blinded until he chose to finally see through the eyes of Christ. And then his eyes were open, and then he knew his true function. He was no longer Saul the persecutor. He was Paul the disciple, one of the greatest disciples of love, sharing it everywhere. He was so on fire that he went to all the places that the other apostles and disciples did not want to go. He said, I'm taking this everywhere. I'm taking this to the Gentiles. I'm taking this to the Greeks. I'm taking this to the Romans. I'm going everywhere with this message because I'm on fire with this. It started with me being blinded, but now I see. I realize that the eyes that I thought I could see through are not showing me a virtual world like the glasses would. But when the light finally came, the eyes that truly see, the vision of Christ that was given to me from the very beginning awakens, opens, finally has a function here everywhere we go. But the fire itself, this is what we follow. We follow the light, we follow the fire, and it leads us straight home to heaven, the heaven we never left except in our imagination. So that is such a great story, such a great reference. Thank you, Teddy. Thank you, Vicky. And I'm just so happy to be able to share this. This is the reason we come together, is because we feel the fire in and through each other. We're not coming here to discuss intellectual topics. If you came here expecting a treatise on the unreality of the perceptual whatever, you're not going to get very far. But if you came here to feel the fire in the brothers and sisters who were gathered and the intention to awaken and to share and to give, and most of all, to be, We keep coming back lately to that lesson to stop doing and simply be who you have always been, loved by God, the single extension of the love and the loveliness of God. That's all we're here for. So stay with the fire. Keep giving yourself to keep putting fuel on that fire. These lessons, for example, each one of them is a piece of wood. Put it on the fire. Let it burn bright. Let that fire get hotter and brighter until it burns away everything you no longer need or require. And there you have it. It's a simple, short lesson, but what more do you need? I mean, we could sit here and talk for hours and never get as far as we just did, where we say, just give yourself to the fire. Just be fully present to that. Love one another. Look through all of those separating beliefs and all the nonsense that is going on all around us right now. Look through it all and give yourself to the fire. And there you go. I don't know if Alice is here right now, but I keep feeling Alice's presence, and as if there's something that Alice needs to share. Sometimes these little bright lights come through my mind and I can just sense a presence. Alice, are you out there? I didn't get a chance to look.
I'm here.
Oh, goody. Good morning, Alice, or good afternoon for you.
It's afternoon here, yes. This
Anything
is
you'd like
very
to share?
exciting today. It's very
Yeah.
exciting, and I loved what you all said very much, especially about the glasses, you know. I've been thinking as you've been talking, all of you, say we were living Geiger counters. Just say we were a living Geiger counter. And we are in a way, because we pick up what is true and we pick up what is not true. And if we turn our inner Geiger counter on, we know what is true. We know we are living our Christ, the treasure that is within all of us. And what you were saying about the voice of the Holy Spirit coming through, we all know that. We all know this place, the voice of the Holy Spirit coming through the dream. Wake up, it's only a dream, it's only a dream, It's so true. And it's like the mother saying to us, it's all right, darling, it's all right. It's only a dream. You're in my arms, you're at home. And what a feeling that is. That's the treasure of the inner Geiger counter. And we do know, we have, Teddy's often said, it's all within us. You said it, James. You said it, Vicky. Others have said it. Everything is inside of us. Nothing is not inside of us, because we are a chip off the old block. We are a chip of God, And, when you really, really receive that, there's a recognition. I think that's the word, a recognition. And when I've been thinking about this recently. I have everything inside of me. Nothing is outside of me. All of you, as I look at now, you're all within me. I am the being of God. I am the Christ of God. That is something to receive, truly remember. And that inner Geiger counter kind of makes a lot of, it lets you know. So that's what I'm feeling today.
And we're feeling it with you. Wow. A chip off the old block. I love that idea. Oh, man. This is why we join together every day. The joy. I mean, do you feel the joy, the effervescence just rising from this whole discussion? If you don't, that's okay. You will. Just give yourself to it. Throw yourself into this fire. You're going to feel the heat. I promise you. You're going to feel the joy beginning to bubble up inside you, because you realize this is true. This is not just some fun, fluffy stuff that we're sharing. This is the truth that you're hearing. You are whole. You are holy. You are loved. The world that you think you see with these glasses on, no, that's a virtual world. Let's take the glasses off and see what is real. Listen to those little prompts that are right next to us saying, don't step too close to the wall. Don't step back and you're going to trip over the dog. Just open your eyes and see the love that's all around you right now. So thank you, Alice. Thank you, Vicky. Thank you, Teddy. Thank you, everyone, for continuing to come back, continuing to give yourself to this fire, this amazing fire that's within us. And with that, let's go ahead and we'll share our closing prayer, the prayer for protection, which sends us off into our day to live this lesson. We are reminded that the light of God, the love of God, the power of God, the presence of God is all around us every moment. So here we go. Join me. The light of God surrounds us. I am the light of God. The love of God enfolds us. I am the love of God. The power of God protects us. I am the power of God. The presence of God watches over us. I am the presence of God. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. All is well indeed. We love you guys.
It was wonderful.
Namaste. I'll see you tomorrow.
Namaste.
Anna.
Goodbye.
Happy Tuesday.
Oh, Jeff, what are you doing
Wonderful
there?
day. James Francis.
Jeff, you're surprising me. Are you back in Mount Shasta, Jeff?
Yes.